Heyo, welcome back to Thoughts and Opinions Are Our Own. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Kirk.
Oh, Kirk.
Jordanne.
We have a very personal pod today.
Yes.
Let's just jump right into it. You were recently in a storm, and not a physical storm like a snowstorm or...
No, not a snowstorm.
But you went through something with some coworkers, acquaintances, associates.
This year, for me, so 2024, we're recording this at the end of 2024. By the way, this is our season 4 finale episode. Hey! The last season 4, I guess we could have led with that. But anyhow, not to get too serious or too, dramatic.
So
but
season 5 is coming up.
Season 5 is coming up, yeah. So we'll have, and we're working on it. The writers, sorry. We're coming up with content for season 5. Anyhow, back to season 4.
Woo-hoo.
So 2024. Anyhow, so if you've been following along with our recent podcast, so my mom died in April of 2024, and then my dad died in August of 2024, and we did a special podcast for each one of them when they died. So it's been quite the emotional year for me personally, and obviously our family. And so anyhow, so a few weeks ago, my day job is it's called parapro. So a paraprofessional or like a teacher assistant at a high school here on the East Coast now where we live. And I'm going to call this a school A. So in school A, I'm a teacher assistant parapro with working the special ed program there. And I was coaching the varsity girls tennis team back in the spring. So back in the spring of 2024.
So you're very involved in school A.
So I'm very involved in school A. So that was back in the spring. Then in the fall, I had the opportunity to be an assistant coach for the cross country, both the girls, both girls and boys. Yeah. So both teams.
First time for cross country.
First time I've ever coached cross country ever was the fall of 2024.
You seem to really enjoy it.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was something new, something different, but I figured out my role. There was the head coach, obviously, and then there were 2 other assistant coaches, and then myself. So it was fun. It was something new, it was something fresh. So anyhow, I did tennis in the spring, cross country in the fall. So I thought, hey, I'll do winter in the time. I'll do boys basketball, which is what I've been doing many, many years. So school A, they had an opening for their freshman boys basketball coaching position, and sadly, they gave the position to somebody else, which kind of surprised me.
Is that a blow to your ego?
Well, I got a lot of years of experience. I'm already in the school, and but for various reasons, they went with this other person. So, was I a little maybe not thrilled about it? I was not thrilled about it. So I said to myself, you know what? I'll go. Yes, I will go somewhere else. I'll see if a different school in the local area where we live here on the East Coast, maybe they're also looking for a freshman or JV or.
And your school A did approve this. They did.
Yes, and I said, hey, I'm not trying to be bitter towards school A, but I ran it. You're right. Thank you for saying that. Yes. I ran it through the athletic department. I'm like, hey,
you're open, you're honest.
I said, I'm not trying to be disloyal to school A, and the athletic director's like, no, do what you got to do, Kirk. So anyhow, I applied for a JV boys basketball head coaching position at school B.
Okay.
And this is where the storm happens at school B.
Okay.
Right away, there were red flags. And
what was the first red flag?
The first red flag is, and this includes you and your mother and your younger sister. Your youngest sister. So you were flying back from Michigan. You had gone to
the funeral.
You had gone to the funeral. That's right. You had gone to Grandpa's, so my dad's funeral. You were flying back, and the same day you were flying back to the airport here on the East Coast, I was asked by the varsity head coach of School B, if this all makes sense, to go to meet some of the basketball players who were maybe going to try out
that makes sense.
For the team. Maybe say hi to the parents, but the varsity head coach was not going to be there, and it wasn't even at School B. It was really at a different school,
like a tournament, like a
kind
fall
of like
ball.
It's called fall ball. Yes, it's kind of like a rec and ed fall ball league. But at least I could see them playing before November is when the real season starts.
Kind of like an open house, like get
an open house, get to know them. Yeah. So, but he wasn't going to be there. He wasn't going to introduce me. I'm like, well, do I introduce myself? I'm like. So I kind of had to introduce myself. So while I was doing this, you and your mom and your youngest sister were all waiting for me at the airport for an hour and a half.
That's correct, but that's okay. I found a Starbucks, and then I found a book to read, and it was pretty good, actually.
So then I'm like,
and at one point, Mom was like, "Oh, we should get an Uber." I said, "No, Dad made a commitment. He can pick us up."
And I did, and I thought,
and you picked us up. You're like, "It will all be worth it once I get the job.
Once I get this job, it'll all be worth it."
Like,
so I kind of felt like that was like part of the interview
this is
process.
A little weird red flag,
but there was a red flag.
Whatever.
So I meet. So then I hadn't even met the varsity coach. It was all through texting and phone calls.
Oh yeah, but you're at fall ball, and they didn't even know who you were.
Yes, they didn't. So I had to introduce myself. So
they thought you were the other.
They thought maybe I was with the other team. Again, you know what? Really?
So 2 red flags.
So a couple red flags. So then I do the official interview face to face with the head coach, the varsity coach of School B. He's really relaxed. He's not really asking me a lot of questions. I feel like I'm asking him more questions.
Flag.
That was a red flag. That was a red flag. Now, he really liked my resume, and so and he called my my previous school that I coached basketball last year and tried to get recommendation from that. But still, I thought maybe he would ask me more personal questions.
Sure.
Anyhow, he didn't. So okay, more red flags. So then I have this dream, and I think we've all had.
Is this before or after they give you the job?
I think this is right after the interview. This is right after the interview.
Okay.
Good question. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to keep it chronological. So I had this dream, and I wake up at 5 a.m. So I tell your mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had this dream. I think it's spiritual. I think it's prophetic.
Oh.
Some dreams you're your subconscious is trying to work things out in your life. Some dreams are your spirit is this is a spiritual dream. Your spirit is trying to tell you, hey, this is a warning sign. So I'm going to be very personal and share this dream now. So I'm in this car. I'm driving a car very, very fast in my dream. I'm on a highway, probably somewhere here on the East Coast. I'm going super fast. And on my phone, I have my phone, whatever, in my pocket, whatever. I get this, those Amber alerts you get, when there's, it starts buzzing and it's like a kidnap or whatever. So I check my phone while I'm speeding, and I'm like,
I really hope an officer's not listening.
Yeah. Okay. This is a dream. This is a dream. This is a dream. This is a spiritual dream. It's a spiritual dream. So my phone's like, hey, it wasn't really an Amber alert. It was a warning because there was some kind of a chemical spill or an oil spill coming up. And my phone knew hey, 3 miles ahead on this same road, there's a major accident spillage. You're going to have to slow down and or get off the highway.
Correct.
I look at my phone. I'm like, I'll be okay. So I go right through.
The confidence.
Right through that. So I'm like, no, I'll be okay. Again, I'm going super fast. I ignore the warning. I go right up to it. I see the oil spill on the road. I'm like, I'll be fine. I get into the oil spill. My car starts spinning and I'm going super fast. I'm about to hit the median. I'm about to go into the ditch. And all of a sudden I wake up. And I tell your mother this dream, and she says immediately, again, this is 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Immediately, she's like, I think that's a warning for the upcoming basketball season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and now, no joke, 3 or 4 weeks later, I remind her of this dream. She's like, what dream? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the dream I told you at 5 a.m. I woke you up. She's like, okay, whatever. I don't even know if she even remembers the dream or she even remembers telling me that. But she's like, oh, it's for the basketball season.
Yeah.
So right away, another red flag. Okay, anyhow. We get to the coaches meeting, which is usually what we do a week before the season starts, make sure all the coaches are on the same page.
Yeah.
Couple more red flags. I just feel like the varsity coach, he's just not really including me in on the conversation. He's talking.
Let's be honest, we've all been in that situation.
Well, yeah, if especially if you're new, you're trying to figure out what your role is now with these other coworkers.
Yes.
You don't want to be
trying to learn the
culture, maybe the language. They got some inside jokes.
Do or don't
communicate.
Yes.
Yeah, communication is key. So right away, I'm like, something still feels off. So red flag, the dream. I'm like, something feels off here at School B. We get to the very first day of practice. It was on a Monday.
Okay. So
we were going to have tryouts Monday, Tuesday, and we do cuts on Wednesday, and then we get going through the season. Monday, I show up. Things are still feeling off. It didn't go well. At the end of the practice, the head varsity coach, again, already had some red flags. He comes in. He and I kind of get into a heated conversation about some things. And at one point, at the very end of the conversation, he's like, well, maybe we just do it wrong here. Mm-hmm. He's like, I got to go. And he turns around and he walks out of the gym. I'm just like, dude, I'm still talking to you. That's not, you just don't pout and turn around and so I come home. This is the first day. This is the first official day on the job. I come home. I vent to your mom. I'm like, something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. What am I doing? She's like, you are spiraling. This is not like you. What is going on? I go to sleep that night. I wake up the second day now, Tuesday morning.
And this is where I come in.
And this is where Jordan comes in. And I'm like, and Mom goes to me again, 5 a.m. I'm like stressed. She's like, are you okay? I go, no, I'm not.
Wow. That's big of you to admit.
And I'm just like, what is happening?
Yes.
I love basketball.
Yeah.
I've been coaching it since, 1996. So 28 years. I'm just like, something feels off. The dream, red flags. I don't even know if I can work with these people the next 3 months. And Mom's like, what are you going to do? Quit? I go, you know what? I just might quit.
Yeah.
Now, pause. We are not quitters in our family. You commit to something. You say you're going to do a job. You do a job. And what's the usual rule on the calendar? How long do you have to
you got to wait a year.
You got to stick out a year, right? If you go through the application process, the people interview you, you feel like, yeah, this is a job I would like. They're like, okay, good. We got a spot for you. Here's what we're going to pay you. Okay. Even if there's kind of rough the first couple months, couple weeks, you're like, you know what? No, I can stick this out a year, right? I can figure this out.
I've gone to you multiple times and you're like, nope, you made a commitment. You got to stick it out.
That's right. We do not believe in quitting. I'm not a quitter. We're not just kind of here and there and here and there. No. Okay. I'm telling you that Tuesday morning, I look at your mother and I go, listen, I don't know if I can do this. She's like, are you going to quit? I go, I might. She's like, if you quit this job after one day, she's like, you're going to have to do this, and this. And I look at her and I go, okay, that's fair.
Deal.
Okay, deal. I call you.
I'm at Tuesday morning prayer at my
Tuesday
church.
morning prayer. You're a good human being,
Thank
Jordan.
you.
Jordan, why
Thank
don't
you
you
so
tell me, or why don't you share with us your
right,
part of the conversation
so
when I call you?
I'm at Tuesday morning prayer, praying, of course. So I missed the call, and we'll talk about Tuesday morning prayer on a later pod. And no, we're not Catholic, although, well, Mom used to be. Anyway. I'm getting to the weeds. Anyway, I'm at prayer, and it ends, and I'm like, all right, I got 30 minutes before I got to get to work, and which is right there, of course. And I see you called, and I'm like, you never call me in the morning. Usually you call me in the afternoon. Or the evening. Yeah. And I'm like, well, all the people I know who died are dead, so it's not that big of an emergency. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take the call. So I call you, and you quickly give me like the 20-minute highlight reel, and you're like, what should I do? And I'm like, pull the Band-Aid, just quit. I decided this isn't like you. You, first of all, named me Jordan after Michael Jordan, and you're like, you love basketball. And,
I do love basketball.
This isn't the love of the sport. It's not the love of the game. You're already getting into it with the head coach. You're already having red flags. You tell me about the dream. So I'm like, this isn't like you. And I'm like, honestly, you should quit. I know that might look bad after a first date, but just rip the Band-Aid off, because here's why. I don't want to have this conversation at Thanksgiving, at Christmas. I don't like January 29th. I don't want to be hearing, I got, 42 more days till the season's over. I don't want to hear about this head coach. I don't want to hear about the freshman coach. I don't want to hear about your assistant. And I know, and if I go to your game, I know how you really feel, and to put on a peppy smile, I'll be like, no, that's fake. That's inauthentic. So I was playing the long game, just rip the Band-Aid off. It's not worth the hassle or the headache. Yeah, if you got to make deals with Mom for the next 3 months, then go ahead and make those deals. And I think you've been going at such a fast pace that maybe your body does actually need time to relax and chill. So I told you that on the phone. You're like, okay, thanks for the advice. I think you call Mom, and she says, I think you should quit.
So then she also was praying about it on the ride to, on the way to her school where she teaches at. And then she texted me. She called me and texted me. She's like, yeah. She's like, I think from everything, from the red flags, the dreams, or whatever she said.
So we're all telling you.
She's like, yeah, you're right. You should rip the Band-Aid off. You should quit. But again, you got to do this before you quit. So
you go through the proper.
So you gave me the advice. She gave me the advice. I'm like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm really going to quit my job after one day.
You know what? Most of Americans do that too.
On the job. Well, you hear stories. You hear stories
now you're part of that.
And now I'm part of the group. Raise your hand, everyone. If you quit a job after one day on the job.
Articles are hilarious.
Well, you can Google it. In fact, I did. I Googled quitting a job.
And you know what? Good
after
for
the first
that.
day.
They recognized, I'm not going to deal with this garbage
and
or
that's
this toxic environment.
There you go. That's a lot of it. That's a lot of it. Yes.
I know my value. I know my time. It's not worth it.
That's right.
I can find a different job.
Well, and so anyhow, so I texted. So this was done on Tuesday. I texted the head coach, the varsity coach, who I just had the run-in with the night before. So I go, hey, can we talk during lunch? Because
he probably knew.
I think he knew, but he was very upset. And I did apologize during the phone call. I said, Coach, I'm sorry about what happened last night with the conversation. I said, I've been through a lot of personal things this year.
But one thing was, what were you saying about him and Mom?
Okay, yeah, I'll get to that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm gonna have to step down from the JV coaching position. I said, I know it's unprofessional after one day. I know it doesn't look good. I don't want to stress out, obviously, the kids, the parents, whatever. I said, but I really have to. And he was like, okay, Kirk, you got to do what you got to do. So I hung up with him. I called my assistant coach, who was going to help me. Really, really good guy. My assistant coach was a really good guy through all this. He's like, well, Kirk, obviously, again, you got to do what you got to do. Disappointed, obviously, that this is going to happen. So I apologized to him. I sent an email to the athletic director at School B. Again, I'm so sorry. I know this is unprofessional. I for personal reasons, I have to step down. So this was one of probably the latest red flag, which really, really helped confirm that I made the right decision. Talking to you, talking to Mom, I got this sense of, and I'm not trying to judge this guy, and I don't know what all he's into in his personal life, private life, but I got this sense of this head coach at School B, the varsity head coach, who I did the interview with. I met him 3 times, once in the interview, once at the coaches meeting, and then after that first practice. Mm-hmm. There was something going on in his life. And this is the thought I had. I don't get this thought a lot. The thought was, I don't want this varsity coach near my wife.
Wow.
I don't want him near my family.
Yeah.
And am I a protective husband? Yes. I mean, Mom's, a grown woman. I mean, I trust her obviously in her decisions. But I'm like, I don't want her near this guy. I don't want this guy near her.
Interesting.
And I'm just like, once I verbalized that out and thought that through, I'm like, what's this guy into? I don't want to associate with this guy. I don't want to work with this guy. So again, I don't know if he's into some dark, messed up stuff. So again, I'm not trying to judge him and his personal stuff, but my spirit was saying, Kirk, don't work with this guy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. So I, like you said, ripped the Band-Aid off. Okay. So I stepped down. Now, that was on a Tuesday. So Wednesday, this is now the next day, again, chronological order. The spiritual word that I got was calm.
Yeah.
I was feeling very calm now in my spirit. C-A-L-M, very calm. Which on a spiritual level, let me read the scripture here. The story of when Jesus I think he was feeding the 5,000, 10,000.
Sure,
he just did the miracles. He had just given to a lot of the people. He gets in the boat and he said to, I think, the disciples, he's like, hey, we're going to go, the lake or whatever they were. We're going to go from this side of the lake to the other side. So this is now in the Bible. I'm going to read this. Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 39, King James Version, which is what I read mostly. Okay, so
good for you.
Mark, well, yeah, okay.
I go on.
You can do your other versions. God bless you. Okay, so this is Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 39. And it says, and the same day when the even was come, he saith unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. So they were in the boat. They were trying to go from one side of the lake to the other. Verse 36, and when they had sent away the multitude, these humongous, the crowd that he had just fed the 5,000 or 10,000, it said they took him even as he was in the ship. So he's in a ship. And there were also with him other little ships. So there's little ships, maybe whatever, following him or whatever to the other side of the lake. Verse 37, and there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full. So the ship was about to go down. Verse 38, and he was in the hinder part of the ship, so like the basement or whatever underneath, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him, his disciples awake him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? So they thought they were about to drown. Verse 39, here comes Jesus. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, be still. He says 3 words, peace, be still. And the wind ceased and there was a great calm, C-A-L-M. And I felt that, Jordan, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to be all wackadoo on this. I felt that calm on that Wednesday. I realized
a great weight had been lifted.
The storm, there was a great calm. And I'm like, okay, you're at peace now about the decision. I'm not spiraling. I'm not stressing. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. Freaking out about how am I going to do this? What's going to happen? The other analogy was sometimes, here in America with the tornadoes and the hurricanes,
Yeah.
You see, like on the news, like it goes through and then the destruction. Then you see the next day, people are going through the rubbles of the houses or the buildings, or whatever. And this is the day after the storm. The sun's out, the birds are chirping. Like, the weather is nice and calm now after the storm.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes America, we have this phrase called, it's calm before the storm.
Yeah.
But no, this is really calm after the storm. Using the scripture we just read in Mark 4. And then my personal story, what just happened, that I had a literal sense of calm in my spirit now. Mm-hmm. Kirk, you had a dream. You were not feeling right in your spirit. Again, with what has happened to you in 2024, your mom, your dad, you're still probably processing things. You really weren't connecting well with this head coach, probably on a coaching level too, like philosophy and personality. Yeah. So like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like you knew you weren't supposed to be there. And I know you, Jordan, now, shifting to you, you had an experience, obviously. Yeah. Sorry, I know this is a long, long story. You can share your story about whether flying in a plane or driving.
Yeah, it was, I think, February of 2023. So almost like a year and a half ago. I had the opportunity to come out to where we are now, and I was going to fly out here, do the interview, look it up.
For a job.
Yeah. But I just felt I wasn't excited about the flight at all. And I remember you and Mom asked, like, "Oh, are you excited?" I'm like, "No." And you're like, "Well, what's wrong?" Like, what's going on? And I'm like, "Nah, I feel like I really shouldn't be flying. I don't feel like I should be up in the plane." And I thought about canceling the trip, but then I'm like, no, I should drive. So I decided to drive instead. So I don't know if there was something on the plane. I don't know if there's something up in the airspace where the plane was going to go to. And yeah, just listening to whether people call it a gut feeling or the Holy Spirit or your spider sense or the little voice in your head, just listening to that, because you don't know what's up on the road. You don't know, maybe there's going to be an accident, or maybe something bad might happen. And this isn't trying to like spook people or freak people out.
We're not speaking fear yet. We're not speaking fear.
You just when you have warnings or when you feel like something's off, you should listen to it, because there have been too many times where people don't listen to it. Yes. And then bad things do
and then happen. Something bad happened. They're like, dang it.
If only I had listened to that, or if only I had left like 10 minutes later, or if I had, if you're driving to somewhere, oh, I should have gone left instead of right, or oh, I should have said no going to that party or something. Yep. So there are multiple examples, and just learning to, and I think it's a little bit of discernment and being confident and saying no. Like, it's okay to say no to things, whether it's a job on the first day or whether it's flying somewhere. And a lot of people, I think, kind of think it's unusual. I remember my sisters, they're like, "Why are you driving? Like, what?" I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling the flight. I'm not getting a good feeling about it. And then, once you make that decision, you do feel pretty good after. You're not as anxious. You're not as nervous. You do feel calm.
Yes.
Sure, you got to drive 9 hours instead of like a 2-hour flight.
But you knew that was the right decision. Flying in the plane for an hour and a half compared to driving for 9 hours. Most people, 98 out of 100 probably say, fly the plane. Hour and a half, you save 7.5 hours. So you're saying no. For that instance, the correct response was yes, drive the car for 9 hours instead of flying for an hour and a half, for multiple reasons.
Yeah. And I think for you, like, I'm actually glad that I don't have to listen about this guy for the next 90 days, 120 days. Because knowing you, if you had taken the job, like, you would be really crabby. You probably wouldn't be enjoying it right now. You'd probably try to avoid him, and then you'd be counting down until like March or April, and then you'd be like, I'm not coming back next year. So, I mean, is it a little unprofessional? I think because you recognized it so soon and you were able to rip it off right away. It wasn't like it was like 3 weeks into the season or 4 weeks. So I know it wasn't fun kind of like getting into it with him, but there were red flags. You recognized it, and now you have a story to tell people.
And that's why I thought I would share this with the pod, because I really believe other people have maybe had some, like you in the plane, in the car. Like there's a decision, there's a crossroad. They're at a crossroads, and they have to go either left or right, and they have to really. We've probably talked about this in a different pod, but like they really have to have wisdom and discernment as to what to do and what not to do. And in terms of this, I realized what not to do was to be at school B. I'm happy at school A. for my day job as a parapro, a teaching assistant, as the head varsity tennis coach in the spring, cross country assistant coach in the fall. That's going well. This was not, something was there. Something was wrong.
And good for you for recognizing
And so,
it.
well, thank you. But it was tough. Those red flags, the leading
you
up.
kept breezing through
Well,
them.
again, the dream. Hey, Kirk, you just keep going back.
Well, and like relating it to relationships, I think there are too many times people, they see red flags when they're dating, and they can't pull the Band-Aid because they don't want to be the jerk.
They're too invested. They're too invested in
They don't want to be the jerk that broke up with them. But I mean, people aren't perfect. Everyone has emotional baggage, whether you like it or not. And I think most people will say, like, I don't want to settle. And I think people do. And they're like, oh, yeah, this red flag. I mean, how many times, have you heard the stories of like, oh, yeah, if only, well, he was doing this, this, and this when we were dating. And they've been married for like 40 years. And you're like, okay, like, you committed, you took that on, you knew what was happening. So, yeah. And I think the whole like sticking at a job for 40, 50 years, I think that's slowly starting to go away. I think because of COVID.
Oh, the same job.
Yeah, people realized, oh, I don't have to be I think that a lot of maybe your generation, my generation, saw their parents at a job for 40, 50, 60 years. They got passed up for the promotion. They gave everything they had. They would get in, like their parents would get into it. Like, well, where were you? I was putting in 14-hour days. I was doing this. And I think they saw how miserable and unhappy their parents were. And they're like, I'm not going to do that. So I think the whole, you stick somewhere for, 40 years, I think that's slowly going away. Now that you can work from home literally anywhere in the world, now that the technology is good, I think the whole workforce is slowly starting to change. And I think more and more people are recognizing, why are we doing this cycle of like, how come I have to work with this jerk boss for so long? He red flag after red flag at my interview. So what you did, I think, is very noble of you. I think it's pretty courageous. I think you stuck it to the man.
Well, and I mean, I think mom was like, what?
I think mentally you made the right decision.
I think mom's like, yeah, this is not.
It was going to be toxic.
Yes, it was not going to be healthy.
It was not positive
for me to stay there, and so it was
and
very.
You would come home and you would.
And I don't want to. I don't want to bring. I don't want to bring that drama home.
Yeah.
I knew, like, you come on, man. So it was first time I've ever done that. First time I've obviously
claps to you
ever.
So what I'm hearing is, if I don't like my job, I can quit.
Well, again, but we're not quitters in this family.
No, red flags. Know what a red flag is. Checking in your spirit or your gut if you don't believe in that.
I knew something was wrong. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on this pod. We appreciate you listening to us.
All right. Have a good one.
Rock and roll.